Hi everyone, it's Trine. So this video is if you have your natal sun trining or sextiling Pluto. The trine and the sextile are both easy aspects, harmonious aspects. So that's why I'm putting them together. The difference between them is that the trine is more innate. So it's easier for the person to embody those characteristics than the sextile. The sextile is more of something that if you put effort into it, you can achieve it because it's like, this potential harmonious energy that's available for you. So when we talk about any aspect, we're talking about these two planets or 2 points that are coming together, and they are creating a certain type of influence when they come together. So how we can figure this out without consulting information. Of course, when I do these types of readings, I do consult the internet to kind of get some talking points. And now with AI, they give you these different concepts that you can riff off of. But anyway, just for people to know, when you're talking about any 2 angles, you think about what each planet brings to the table, and then how it would be if they combined. So the sun represents our individuality, what makes us special, as well as our aspirations. And that means, what our goals are in this lifetime. Pluto represents control. It represents regeneration. So it's like, the rebirth. You could even say like the death, but the rebirth, which is transformation. But also, and that's why it's connected to healing, for instance. But also personal alchemy, or that deep transformation that occurs when people are seeking to better themselves. So right away we can see that when you have these 2 planets in harmonious aspect, it's either just like a natural part of the person's nature to experience transformations, or that they have that potential, if they are willing to take those steps to be able to do so. Now, of course, anybody can transform their life. But for instance, if you have a hard angle from the sun to Pluto, I have the square, I believe. And of course, some people have the opposition. Sometimes it can be that there is some kind of blockage or some kind of relationship with someone else that feels very oppressive, and that person's trying to kind of stifle that person's growth, the individual with that aspect, especially when we talk about the opposition. One thing that must be said about Pluto is that even when you have a harmonious angle to it from another planet such as the sun, there still are going to be some of these issues that come up. For instance, with Pluto, because Pluto is considered a malefic planet. Of course, that's Vedic astrology terms, and I don't like to use that kind of language, meaning that it is evil or bad or something like that. But I'm willing to reference that because there are planets, and Saturn, you could say, is another example of one of those planets. And even a planet like Neptune, where even when you have good I don't like good and bad, but even when you have more harmonious angles or a conjunction, it can still be something that it's, you're going to be lucky, if it's a positive effect, because that planet is just known to be very challenging. So Pluto, because it is connected to intensity of emotions and power issues, the person, especially with the sextile, because it is something that takes work, the person has to own it. The person the trine is going to be more like, this is just part of your basic personality, where you have a balanced idea of power. And for the trine, when you have the Sun trine Pluto, this is really an important thing because, for instance, you might make a great leader because some of the type of leaders that abuse power, the reason that they do so, or even like you could say parents who abuse power, the reason they do so, in my opinion, a lot of times is because they do feel powerless within themselves. And they think that the answer to powerlessness is to find yourself in a position where you can control other people. And that is a lower frequency, to say the least, because obviously, a situation like work where people are just trying to, earn a living, and, they might feel vulnerable and feel like there is that imbalance of power where they don't really have a say and they have to kind of go along with the whim of their boss. To exploit people in that way is not a good thing. And same with children who are helpless. So a person who has the Sun trine Pluto just naturally goes within themselves to transform their lives, to feel like they have more control over the outcome, rather than trying to look outside of themselves to attain that. For both aspects, there is this personal magnetism, which we would say like a magnetic aura, where people are naturally drawn to you. And if that's the case, with the sextile, for instance, the person has to own that and they have to develop that. It's not the trine, it's going to be more effortless. But I would call this having gravitas in terms of the basic personality, where there is a lot of substance, there is a lot of depth to that individual. So you are not like a lightweight type of person. And, like if somebody has a hard angle from the sun to Pluto, they may have, charisma as well, I would imagine, but they also may have a more complicated personality. And the intensity of the emotions may kind of get the best of them, where maybe other people sense that. That's how I'm thinking, just knowing myself and how it has played out for me, and how I think, my own aura, or whatever you want to call it. But for you, this is going to be the best of what Pluto can give, in this case, to the sun. And because the sun is your core personality, it is going to really be front and center, and, you're in this lifetime, in how you choose to express yourself. both the trine and the sextile are able to be resilient in life, which means that you can bounce back from difficult times and even to experience regrowth, you know, compared to some people where something bad happens and it's almost like a domino effect and they just like maybe they start um it's like worse and worse. And like whether you think about it, I'm assuming that this is both on the physical level as well as the emotional level. So, for instance, some people they're able to have a strong immune system. So even if they come in contact with various things, they are able to fight it off. And even if they do happen to get sick, they recover fully. And then we know some people getting sick is just like the first step for really experiencing uh, a worsening of their health. And or if it's on the emotional level, that they become more and more vulnerable, insecure, whatever you want to call it. No, for you, you have that bouncing back ability, which is really great because, life can be sometimes very challenging. And also in terms of being able to look at life from a deeper perspective and do that shadow work, which is kind of the emotional gunk that we don't want to really deal with, that we shove under the rug. You're the type of person who is deeply capable of dealing with that within yourself. And this, because the sun is our core identity, the more that we are able to embrace growth, the more that we are going to see the transformation occur. And we know that some people do not seem to grow, that they become stagnant. And there's even such a thing as de-evolution, where a person seems to regress. And they're not only are they not growing, but they are actually backtracking. You can be a great leader. I think I touched upon that earlier. Um, like I said, the people that are the tyrants, the late Wayne Dyer called petty tyrants, the boss that is, trying to control others to try to shore up his or her insecure self. That type of person is not a good leader. The person who leads with a whip is not a good leader. That's the authoritarian. But the person who is able to inspire underlings, able to help people to become the best version of themselves and use themselves as like kind of a model for other people to aspire to, that's a great leader. And that's what you can show others. And, sometimes it's people seeing your own transformation that is the best calling card, if you will. Okay, well, this is a very powerful aspect, these two aspects. So if you have this, congratulations, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.